Hi, this is Dr. Peggy Gleason. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Dufraine. Now, as an avid lifelong gardener and a member of the community garden for nearly 3 decades, Elizabeth combines her rich experience in philosophy, physics, and a distinguished career in computing analytics and management. Wow, wow, wow. We have somebody really smart here, huh? After retiring, she channeled her passion into serving on the executive board of a major community garden in Edmonton. Now, driven by her belief in the power of gardening to foster community, she founded Gardens for Us to inspire and empower others to grow together. Elizabeth is also writing her first book, oh boy, A Beginner's Guide to Starting Community Gardens, helping people everywhere cultivate connection, sustainability, and growth. And Elizabeth, I want to start out by asking you, I believe you're near Alberta, Canada. Is that correct?
Yes, I live. Edmonton is in Alberta, Canada.
Oh, see that I'm in the U.S., so I wasn't quite sure where it was in Canada. Well, welcome down here. This is terrific, and I'm so curious, as I'm sure the audience is to understand you went from this high level technical wizardry, physics, and all that stuff to your passion gardening, and I want to know. Even though you were part of a community garden um, for over 3 decades. What was it that drew you to that?
I think it was getting back to my roots. My very, very early childhood was in sort of a market garden area of southwestern Ontario, which is the same latitude as Northern California. So it's very, very mild. And my parents had a huge garden, and some of my earliest memories are me holding on to the fencing that was trying to keep the peas up, and I was just stealing every one that I could. Uh, so at about 4 years old, I started grade one in a one-room schoolhouse. And then a little bit later, we moved into a village and we had a much smaller garden at that point. But gardening, preserving food, it was just the nutritious background of everything that I had growing up. A very, very stable environment. So now the village had a two-room schoolhouse, so a little bit of a shock. And then for high school, I had to now go into the city, being bused into the city, and it was now 600 people. So there was a number of things that gardening, being physical and being grounded with the earth, always kept me uh, well established because I love to think, I love to read. Before I was, as a preteen, I was reading books like Silent Spring by Rachel Carson on DDT and environmental pollution.
Oh my
I had
goodness.
watched, yes, I had watched the beautiful Lake Erie go from somewhere that we were swimming in, and as a 3-year-old, my dad would take us out there fishing to a dead lake, to actually being declared a dead lake due to the pollution from the states and from Canada surrounding it, and watching it come back in different environments. So these are the types of things that I was watching all the time while I was learning book knowledge. When I was 11, I was reading things like psychocybernetics,
Hi, that sounds fun for 11.
mind body connections, and things of that nature. But I found that through university, the 5 years of university, everything had changed to the extent that I was focused in on a series of knowledge that was limiting me. It was becoming so crystallized. My whole life was centered around trying to figure out this mathematical equation. I'd look at a cloud and I wouldn't see a cloud anymore. I'd see all the things that I had to do to analyze it and things along that line. Now, my exposure was such that you can get trapped into that type of thought patterns, filters. That's all you
Mhm.
see in the world. So back to nature. I had a chance to be back to nature. where my girlfriend that I had met when we were at Atmospheric Environment Service doing, between university years, she was in astronomy and I was in physics, so we hit it off pretty good. Well, she bought 20 acres of land on Muscogee Island and said, come on out and help me build a log cabin. So my boyfriend
Wow.
and I, who later became my husband, we went out there. So from that highly structured ivory tower intellectual world, we were just thrown into a very primitive island where it was, you could only get there by foot ferry.
Mm.
Uh, if you had power, it was generated. We could only go there walking. It was just so fantastic. She, she's very minimalistic at the time. We lived on gruel. We drank our water off of the tent, and we were we had a chainsaw, but we actually had to trim the bark off of everything to build this thing. We by hand we carried in two plywood things for her floor up and down hills because being a good cartographer, she knew she had more land if she built on top of a mountain. So it's the second highest hill on Gillisgity. But what I really think is important is that it totally changed me and all of my filters. And I didn't want to go back to university anymore.
Ah,
Yeah, but I did not want to live that way. So it became, how am I going to balance both the intellectual world that I love and book reading, as well as physical nature? And I found that gardening was the way to do it, but there was no opportunity. That's where community gardening came in.
that is wonderful. Wow. So when you have a community garden, talk more. Is it, do you have many, many people? Is it a large thing? A lot of people in, say, urban areas like New York City, you don't have big areas where you can just have a community garden, although they do have them, believe it or not, in New York, but they're real smaller, much smaller ones. But tell us a little bit about how that's structured when you have a community garden.
Well, it really depends on who you are serving, who you intend to serve, and who is around you that is helping in this. You're not doing a community garden on your own, although you may be the one that kicks off the vision for it. You need to be able to see what is in your environment, what the need is, who needs it, and you really need to upfront decide what is your community. Is it inclusive or is it exclusive? Is it part of an organization already? And is it what need is it fulfilling? And once you have those down straight, you don't have to start big. You can start with a small pilot project. You can start saying, what's my budget? How are we going to be organized? How are how can I find sponsors? What are my bylaws? And it can become very, very overwhelming. So my book and approach is to find out where you're at, become aware of the needs that are there and who you want to serve. Because most of the people that want to launch a community garden are already avid gardeners and they know all about the gardening and they know about gardening and how to culture plants, perhaps within their own personal or family space. But you're adding in a whole new vector of community, of people working together. So it depends on your organization who you're serving. For instance, the one that we're serving is totally inclusive. If you want to get on our waiting list, you just go to the QR code and sign up. And if you don't
Wow.
want to do the QR code, there's a phone number for you. And we have a multitude of different techniques, different plants, different cultures, different languages. So much so that I even bought an AI translator so I can talk better to some of the people that
This is
are there.
terrific. I love the all inclusiveness. This is wonderful. Now, with down here, I mean, in the state, certain areas, of course, of Canada and the United States, we get really cold weather. So, what do you do in the wintertime, right? Like right now, we're nearing November when we're recording this. It's early November, and now it's getting a little cooler, and think I know for us, I have flowers and they're all frozen, but I'm not, I don't have a garden like you do. But so what do you do about that? Are there certain things you can plant in the winter that, I mean, I don't know about that. So if you can fill us in.
Certainly. A lot of people can think of a winter garden, especially for those in zone 4, 5, 6. They can actually do a long extension of their summer garden with a late summer planting so that their products are maturing by the time the first frost happens. So the basic key indicators look for your first frost date. If you don't have a first frost date, well, you're good for gold. You can grow all around. You just have to be careful of your nutrients and rotations. But the best for a winter garden for those that are in zone 3, 4, 5 is the brassicae. All of the kales, the Brussels sprouts, as well as the root vegetables such as the carrots, the parsnips, the beets. Many can take a really cold hit and still even get sweeter, better tasting. So how can you extend everything? Well, in our particular garden, community garden, we have people renting from April through to the end of September because we have to prepare everything in the soil for the next season, where we will go in and do the cultivations and the green composting and things of that nature for the people that we're serving. But what I did, I had some beautiful big kale plants, and they were literally bushes. They had grown beautifully. And what I did was I transplanted them into the containers at home where the flowers had died. So I can go out there and just take a couple of big kale leaves even now, and I expect that I'll still be able to for the next 4 or 5 weeks. So that is one way of extending it, and that was necessitated because we could no longer be on our community garden spot. So it's know your first frost date, work backwards, and give it a try. And you can always cover something. You know, usually we have a first frost, and then we have maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks of weather that is suitable if you have a cover.
This is great. Wow. This is so delightful. And so your book that's coming out, right? You tell me about more about that because this is exciting and I'm sure people are going to be dying to get it and read it. Is it about how to start the community gardening?
The primary focus is on key actionable steps to be able to start your garden. So the structure is sort of we have each chapter, there's 14 chapters, and 10 of them are about launching your garden and how to get your all your ducks in a row, I guess. Uh, it starts with the why, identifying who you want to serve, and then reaching out. The key actionable step in the first chapter is reach out to one person with your idea. Get some
Mm,
accountability, get some input, right? And maybe just to post something on the Facebook about your desire. So it's just the tiny little steps that can get you going, get you motivated, get the momentum. It's all good. So that's all the first chapter, and it really takes you into the types of gardening and to have people explore, use their Google fingers to explore and see, oh, gee, this makes sense to me. And then it goes on to finding your resources, and the resources being the people. Do you need a committee? Do you what are the bylaws in your area? And just places to and hints to be able to determine that for yourself, because you don't want to go off on a tangent and then find that it won't work in your community. And then we
that's
get in, okay, and that's
no,
chapter 1 and 2.
no, I mean it's so there's so much more that's involved in it than most people would realize. It's a really big commitment too. Um, there was one more question that I had that I thought was I'm sure other people are wondering. What about the land? Like, do you have somebody that donates a piece of property? I mean, even if it's a small amount, it belongs to someone, right? Or is it you go to the town and see if they have a little area they want to have the garden? I don't, yeah, how do you do that? How do you find the right place which has the right soil and whatnot?
That is an excellent question, and that's the heart of chapter 3, 4, and 5. But actually, it's what are the key factors that you need to be able to have a successful garden? And part of it is being realistic about what you have in front of you and who your sponsors may be. Your sponsors might be an organization that you're part of. It might be a school where you want to have a learning garden. And definitely look to this movement is becoming so strong in so many cities. Look to your city. For instance, in Edmonton, we have Sustainable Foods Edmonton that manages grants from the city to promote even pop-up gardens, where if you have a group like a condo group, they will actually supply the containers at, at height to be able to put in that area, and then you bring in the people. And it's just for one season, but it's a way to get people enticed into community gardening and working together. The garden that we're at is actually on city parkland, which at
Yeah.
one time was a military base.
Wow. That
But the
is
military,
very interesting.
and it was organized first by military families, and it has a history going back almost 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
But when the base moved north about 6 miles, uh, the community, the gardening space became available to just people in the community. And I was able to get on a waiting list, and the next year I was able to garden there.
How wonderful. I love this. And there is so much, much, much more that we can learn from you. And I'm so thrilled that you were able to take time out of your very busy day gardening to take this time and share what you do and how beautiful that it is that you're helping other people get involved in community gardening. Um, Now, you have something you would like to offer the listeners? I know we're going to have all of the links in the show pages, but is there something you'd like to mention?
Well, I'd like to mention one of my other key interests, and that is emergency preparedness. And especially with the extreme weathers that are going to happen as we're approaching the holiday season, just
Mhm.
take your time and think through communication, think through having something in your car if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling that way, because things can change very quickly. And be prepared and be safe, and then enjoy your destination.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I know that everyone listening to you today is going to be thrilled and anxiously awaiting your book because they're going to learn so much and together as a community,
Mhm.
as a globe, to know that we can all participate in growing food and helping each other. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Peggy.
My pleasure.